Okay, shalom everybody. Ready?
Coffee?
No, I don't think Rabbi's even on. He's a little late. Dr. Mishnah. We're starting from Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, the Mishnah Ha'ich Bikurim. We're continuing this list, this non-exhaustive list of. It's not a complete list. Why would you say that in fancy language? It's not a complete list of all the makkos. We're going through every one has a knetch, which we didn't get into every single one of them, but the Gemara goes through some of them. A lot of times, if the source for the makkos is not obvious from the psukim, that's a chiddush. Ha'eichel bikurim ashlei kara aleim. If the mitzvah bikurim is the first fruits of a farmer's field, you bring up to Yerushalayim, you give it to the Kayan. And part of that void is you put it down in front of the Mizbeach, and you read a certain parsha of Ramad Avid Avi, which we're going to say Emir Hashem on Leil Seder. So if you do not read it, and then the Kayan ate it, now Zor is never allowed to eat Bikurim. We're talking about a Kayan. The Kayan eats the Bikurim, actually Karleim, before the Yisrael read his parsha of Ramad Avid Avi. Then he gets malchus. Kachikachim chutz l'klam. If you ate kachikachim outside the azara, kachikalim l'maisasheni chutz l'chayma. Maisasheni and kachikalim that are eaten outside the azara. I'm sorry, the chayma of Yerushalayim. Hashayva esa etzem b'pesach hatar. Not just we could still be. I don't know if it's still shayach to. I think we could still do the Karban Pesach this year if Mashiach comes. I think you have to. I think you have to be mafresh the seh 3 or 4 days before. But even if no one has time to go to the mikvah, I think we'd be able to do it betuma. So here's to that. But if Mashiach comes and this might be again for this mamash this year, if you're not allowed to break a bone in the Karban Pesach, and the reason is you shouldn't eat it because you're hungry. You should. And I don't. That's the reason. But that's part of the reason is that if you break the bone, it shows that you're hungry, like you didn't have enough to eat. You're sucking out the bones, like what's it called? And that's an issa. It's a lav in the Torah. But it's only if the Pesach is tar, which means it's royal achila. Then all these cases you get malchus. Aval hameiser, but aval hameiser, somebody who leaves over kachim past their allotted time, like we talked about this yesterday. Batar, if you're meiser batar, v'ashayva b'tamei, and if you break a bone in a Karban Pesach that's tamei, ain't like arbam, you do not get malchus arba. And naito lima labanim. And this exact Mishnah we had yesterday, we had quoted yesterday, Machlekes, if somebody takes the mother bird, takes the kids in front of the mother, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda says you could send, you get Malchus, and there's no option to send her away. You can send her away after you take the birds. Her kids, and you don't get malchus. Any mitzvah that has a say attached to it, you do not get malchus on it. Okay, the Gemara Amar Rabbi This is Rabbi Kiva. These words of the Mishnah that you don't get malchus, that you get malchus bikurim for not reading it. Is that Rabbi Kiva? We said before that Bikurim has a two-step process. At least two of the steps are putting it down in front of the Mizbeach and also reading. So the Chachamim say that everyone agrees that Hanach is Ma'akiv, but the Chachamim say that the Kriya is not Ma'akiv. But we see Rabbi Kiva says that the Kriya is Ma'akiv, and that's why Rabbi Kiva holds if you eat it before you lane, before you do the kriya, then you get malchus in that case because you need to, it's part of the process to finish it. Lemos did the Rabbi Shimon Stimisa. Why is he saying Lachas Rabbi Kiva? Say that Lachas Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon, we're going to say in a minute. There's a brisa that we all know that as Rabbi Shimon. So why are you saying some obscure? Why are you saying Rabbi Kiva that we don't have a Messiah for? Say Rabbi Shimon that we know. That's what he means to say. The Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Shimon Tzvila, he wants to say that she's Rabbi Kiva because Rabbi Kiva is not well known. He wants to teach us that Rabbi Kiva, everyone knows Rabbi Shimon. But he wants to teach us Rabbi Kiva also the same halacha. My Rabbi Shimon, what's the Rabbi Shimon that you just quoted that you said you want him to say like? So the Gemara, the Tanya, the Trumas. So we have. Let's read the whole passage quickly. It says Leisuch halacha b'sharecha, Ma'aser degancha v'sirayishcha v'tzerecha uv'chayres b'karecha v'tzaynecha V'chol nederecha asher tida v'nidveisecha v'trumas yadecha. So the end of the pasuk is v'trumas yadecha, and that's what we're going to start with darshaning first. V'trumas yadecha, it says in the pasuk v'trumas yadecha ev bikurim. He says that that's he says in the Brisa that's the mitzvah bikurim. Amar Rabbi Shimon Ma bazel l'lamdeinu. What is it coming to tell you? Imlech achlan chutz l'chaim. If to teach me that I can't eat bikurim outside. But the pasuk says lo yisaychlu, right? Lo yisaychlu echel. The pasuk says not to eat it. So if you're going to tell me that the pasuk is telling me pashas the issur of eating outside the chayma, this the bikurim kabachayma ma'aser. The beginning of the pasuk is lecha b'sharech, right? Leisucha lecha b'sharech. You cannot eat it in your gates, which means you have to eat it only in Yerushalayim. Meiser, the gancha, meiser. The first thing is meiser. So I see right away that meiser is, and a meiser is a cow. And it makes a galachayim from Meiser to Bikurim. So Ma Meiser Ka Oichlin Chutzacham like Bikurim like Hashchen. So fine. So Halay Ba Akas El Loichel Bikurim At Shaloi Kara Aleim Shehu Laika. So let's just stop here for a second because this is the punchline of the brisa that we need for our Gemara. Our Gemara wanted to bring brought a right that this Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Bechana said that this Mishnah is Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Shimon, right? And this is the halacha of Rabbi Shimon that we're talking about. That he says from the pasuk of the Tumas Yedecha, it makes a kavachayim to the beginning of the pasuk of Meiser. That obviously, if Meiser you can't eat outside the chayim, of course, Bikum you can't eat outside the chayim. So what's the coming to Tumas Yadcha is talking about you can't eat it before the kriya. Okay, so now they're gonna the rest of the rest of the kavachayim the Gemara is just gonna like blow through them. I'm gonna deal with them more in later. Vinid Vaisecha like Zutaida Ushlamim. Vinid Vaisecha in the pasuk refers to Taida and Ushlamim, which is Kachim Kalam. Amar Rab Shimon, Ma Ba'Olam. What's it going to teach me in Lachel Chosnachayim Kavachayim Meiser? I don't need it to come to tell me this Leisuchel. It can't come to tell me that it's Chosnachayim because I had Kavachayim from Meiser just said before. It's come to teach me that even if I eat it before Zrikas Adam, which is which is the what's the lashon?
Sprinkling.
Yeah, but what does it do? It allows the kachin to be eaten. It's the mechapa for the balam, and it's also not the patur, the mater. Thank you. It's also the mater for the basar for the balam and for the kahanim. The b'chayros zeh Amar B'Shimon Ma Ba Kasa. The pasuk says in b'chayros zeh b'chayros Amar B'Shimon Ma. Yeah, you can't say that it's come to tell you outside the walks that right. I have a kavachayim from shlamim from meiser. You can't tell me how to tell the zrika have a kavachayim from taidu shlamim because b'chayros is more chamer than shlamim. We're going to go through each one of these kavachayims later. Even that a zar cannot eat. From Bachar even after Zrika, because only a kind's allowed to eat from there. So I read the pasuk wrong before. I thought Bekarcha was going Bachar. But Bekarcha is going Chatas Vasham. Ma ba zel lamdeinu im la'achlan chutz l'chayma kavachayim meiser. If again, same thing. The Chacham to teach me Chosachayim. Im lefnei zikis Kavachayim mitay l'shlamim. Im la'achazikis Kavachayim b'char. Right? Asher and Nechatas, the balam don't eat. So the Kavachayim b'char. Halay ba'akas el la'ishlo b'chatas. Asher afi la'achazikis chutz l'klayim. Shu laika. Even outside the klayim, you're laika. B'char does not have that halacha. That it has what?
What's klayim?
Kolim is the walls of the azar. So the kachin has to be eaten in the azar by the kain. Niderechas du ayla amar of shemazal lamdeinu im loich chutz l'chayim kavachayim meiser im lefnei zika kavachayim mitayit v'shlam im la'achazika kavachayim b'char im chutz l'klayim kavachayim mech chatus asham. Ale ba'akas ela Lacha min ayla la'achazika afilu b'fnim shehu laika. You cannot eat ayla at all. So even if you eat it in the azara, la'achazika, all that you still get malchus. Even a kain, you still gets malchus because you're not allowed to eat it b'chlal. So again, because each one is specified in the pasuk of Leisuchal, and I don't. We're gonna go through the Joshua more in a second. So Amar Rava, the leader ime Rabbi Shimon Teled, imloi loy Teled. When a person's giving birth, she should daven that her son should be like Rabbi Shimon, or she shouldn't give birth at all. So that should be her tefillah. So the Ritva takes it out. It says, I mean, there's a bunch of other madregas. You don't have to be Rabbi Shimon in order to be worth it to be alive. But interesting that he says such a strong lashon that Imam should daven to have a son like Rabbi Shimon because it is Joshua that Rabbi Shimon gave this brisa. So Rava says such a strong lashon like this. Rava says, even though I'm going to upshot everything that we just learned, Rava was going to go against, but he still appreciated the verse. We're going to see at the end exactly what his cheshbon is. So again, I've got the supercha as follows. My chum the bikurim meiser. What did you say the bikurim meiser? Right? What's your kavachayim the bikurim meiser shekena surun lizarim? A meiser is mutter lizarim. I'll be only in Yerushalayim, but bikurim is asa bazar. Adraba meiser chama shekena asa lainen. Somebody whose parents died. Someone who's one of the Zayin Kravim die before they're buried, they're called an Einin, and then part of from all mitzvahs, and they're usher to eat meiser. So even though it's mutter l'zar, it has a chumrah that it's usher to Einin, whereas a kohen who's an Einin could eat bikurim. The side of Ishlamim meiser shekin tunas matan dam and veimurim l'gav mizbech. You have to do all these things. You have to put you have to do zukas adam, you have to do hagasha, you have to be makar ivarim on the mizbeach. Adar meiser chamish came to unin kasef tzru. There's a chamer by kasef by meiser. Then in order to be paid the meiser, you have to use special minted coins. Now you cannot be paid the kachim, an animal that's kedushas haguf. So if I say harei zu oila, we learned yesterday you cannot do tmura. You cannot say, let me switch out this animal for another animal. You also can't be paid with cash. But if it gets a mum, then it loses kedushas haguf, and then you could be paid it. But you don't need all these fancy coins. You could do it with anything. You could do it with any shavah kesef. You could do it with another animal. You could do it with anything. But in the what's it called process, which is interesting because really it's not the same level of kedusha anymore. So it's a little bit of an interesting limud. You're bringing a raya from something that it needs a higher level of pediya when it comes down to a lower level. At the time that it's eligible for Padiyah, that you could compare it to Meiser for Padiyah, it can't do the other thing anymore that we're talking about. You can't bring it to it's not Shaykh Achila by it. We're learning Hilchas Achila, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but in Padiyah, it's more strict.
Yeah, but only when it's not negated to the halacha that we're learning. So it's not more strict because in this status that we're learning it from, we want to say that a carbon shlomim, right? That's the chap over here. We want to say that a carbon taider shlomim that I want to eat. But I have to, right? If I have to eat meiser inside the chayma Yerushalayim, of course I have to eat meiser. Of course I have to eat taider shlomim inside the chayma, right? That's essentially the kavachayma. That's the kavachayma. And what's the answer? In a scenario when I can't eat the Taidin Shlamim, then it's worse off than the Meiser. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an animal that you could eat. Where do I have to eat it? In this higher status of Kedusha, you know what I'm saying? Okay, it's interesting that it's not 100% whatever. Okay. I don't fully understand how the Pircha works over here because the only time that only time that Meiser has a chaymer over Taidin Shlamim is when Taidin Shlamim is not Taidin Shlamim anymore. It's not eligible for what we're trying to talk about of eating. It's already a mum. I can't bring it to the mizbeach, and I have to be paid it. In that case, when it's only Kedushas Kalim, what?
Meiser always has that.
Right.
Okay.
Meiser always has. If you want to be paid the Meiser Sheni, it has to be outside. It has to be outside the chaymer, and it has to be with these like these legit coins, verified. It has to be verified payment. Okay, what do we want to say that the chaymer of Bechar is that it's kaddish as soon as it's born. It's not a choice whether it has kedusha right away. As soon as it's born, it's the firstborn. It's kaddish. Adrab taida shlamim. Mamash learning for Bechayres over here. This is mamash learning. Adrab taida shlamim chamur shekain tuunin smicha v'nesachem tenufa chaz. You have to do all this whole process by when you bring a taida and shlamim. You have to do all these things You have to do simicha before the shechita. You have to do nesachim to pour the wines and the tenufa chaz of a shaykh. It's a whole spiel. I've had all these extra halachas by Taida B'Shlama, which you don't have that by Bechar. Like we just said that's the chaimer by Taida, right? The Ayla mechatas v'ashim shekin kalel. What's the chaimer by Ayla? Is because the whole thing gets burned in the mizbeach. Mechatas v'ashim chamivi shekin mechapri. It comes to be mechaper, it's a lab. Now, sometimes an oila could also be mechaper mitzvah say, but there's very rarely a time that you're mechuyev to bring an oila. The only time you're mechuyev to bring an oila that I'm aware of is I think the Yeledes has to bring an oila, and if someone decides to bring an oila, it is mechaper on a mitzvah say, but it's not a chiyav kapari. You know what I'm saying? You have the difference. Whereas achatus and asham, most achatus comes from most of the time from anything that's a chayiv karis b'mezid is carbon chatas b'shaygig, and asham there's a bunch of different types of ashamas, but I think let's say for example I think one of them is I think a nazir has to be an asham. There's a few different asham tali if you have a suffix, so there's a few different scenarios of asham. Either way, there's a chi of asham and it's going to be mechaper something. The kul chamir ma'ayla, they all have a chaimer over an ayla. This which we just said punk for cat. We just said that the chaimer of oila is that it gets completely burnt, but still in another capacity, that's a kula. The fact that two people eat from this, right? It's considered throughout kachim. We're doing kachim in Daf Yomi now. Throughout kachim, the strafe of the mizbech is called achila. So there's two types of achila. We're not saying chalila that Hashem eats, but it's called achila when the mizbech burns it. It's called an achila. So there's two achilas. There's the mizbeach eats keilu, and the balam eat. So there's a maila over, not necessarily the balam. I don't think the balam eat from chatas, but the bnei adam, the kahanim eat from chatas. So either way, you have that a person eats. There's two achilas. Elamai, it's affecting the mark. Now you just destroy the whole brisa. Delete the email. Rabbi Shimon, what's this phrase that you gave him that someone should daven for something like this? You just upschlag the entire Torah, right? But the Gemara, the day, according to his own logic. In other words, I think Rabbi Shimon, it could be that Rabbi Shimon doesn't agree to all these questions, and he has his own way of learning, which we don't know about. But he came with all these happen he has all these kavachaimers, but the kunz is Misarisle the Krav Darishle. He didn't go in order. He bounced around the pasuk. He started from Bechar, then went to right. He started from Bechar to Meiser, and then he went all over the place. If he would have done it in chronological order of the pasuk, he wouldn't have been able to build the way he did. So because he darshan the whole pasuk backwards to forwards and upside down, that's he was able to squeeze out all these halachas by being marba, by being meisif on each madrega of kedusha according to his kavachaimers, again, which we said doesn't work. Rava said doesn't work. But according to Shimon's logic, at least he built up a very impressive ladder of logic to get to all these extra halachas from seemingly one word in the pasuk. Again, all these psukim, all these halachas are darshan from leisuch halachal. You can't eat. From not eating, he got to before Zikaz Adam, after Zikaz Adam, Azar, Kachim. He got all these halachas before Kriya. He got all these halachas he squeezed out of leisuchal because of the way he built up this Joshua. In fact, and then the Gemara is challenging his entire premise. How could you say all these kavachaimers? We're not mazir men adin. We don't give you hazara from Malkus from the Torah, from a kavachaimer. Even the man that says you could make a kavachaimer and punish someone from the din, which is a machlekes, but even according to the Madam, you can't do hazara from the din. No, the hazara at least has to be straight out. Then once the hazara is straight out, you knew you're not supposed to do this. Well, your einish is you weren't sure, but I have a kavachaimer. I'm going to give you malchus. And the Gemara is surah ba'am, he was not learning malchus over here. He was just learning stam isser that it's allowed to do it, no malchus attached because what am I supposed to do? I don't have a hazara. And the Gemara, ba'amar rava zu sha'aychel min ha'ila zar. I'm sorry, zar sha'achal min ha'ila lefnei zrika chutz l'chayma, which is also chutz l'klayim, right? Rabbi Shimon like a chamesh. According to Rabbi Shimon, he gets 5 lavim. What's the 5? Like he gets 5 malchus. What's the 5 malchus? He's a zar, so he's not any kachim. He ate an ayla, no one's allowed to eat. He ate a lefnei zrika, and he ate a chutz l'chaima, which is also chutz l'klam. It's a double chutz, right? So he had 5 lavim. So we have Ravis who says that you can't tell me that he's just talking about Isser Ba'amal. Ravis says that he's giving you 5 sets of malchus. Chamisha Isurin Hava and the Gemara and Chanami. He means just Chamisha Isurin. Rabb's amendment also you have to amend. In fact, the Gemara our Mishnah is not to be amended, and it said so that what? That Bikurim Sha'ava. What is it? What's the first word? The Mishnah Bikurim actually Kara Aleim like love, right? A few lines down, like love. So you see that you do get malchus. And where did he learn that this knach of Bikurim? Bikurim actually Karale. Where did he learn that out from? This fancy drasha that he just did. So what are you going to do with that? Ella Kroyiseru. Really, it's an extra pasuk. This whole Sucha is an extra pasuk. Mechti. Ksiv. It says in the pasuk. We'll do it inside Vavesa Shama Seichem Vezivchem Ves Masur Seichem Ves Trumas Yadchem Vinidrechem Vinidivay Seichem Ubecharis Bekarchem Vitzayinchem. So it says the same exact words as we said before. It says it in a slightly different order, which is interesting. But it says you should eat it, and you should bring it inside Yerushalayim. You should eat it there. All these things you should eat there. You should eat inside Yerushalayim. Now, not all of them have to be eaten in Yerushalayim. Some have to be eaten in the Mazar also, but fine. So it could have just said on that V'loi Suchlam B'Shirachi. You shouldn't eat them. Not in the Chayma. And that's it. You would have been done that. You would have gotten that would have been the Hazara for all 5. Right? Or not 5, whatever. You have, right? Or it would have been the whole list. You would have just said, don't eat any of them outside of the wall. Why did they have to come and read that new pasuk? Start off opening pasuk. Don't eat not your grains and not your nedavis and not your chumas yad and not your alshpiel, not your becharis. Why? It must be the Torah wants to give you a law for each one. Now, this is not a simple Joshua how he got away from the issue of because he still has to come onto the Kavachaimer. Taisus goes through the whole thing. It's not for us right now, but just understand that it's not a Pashata Lima that he comes up with. But this is the basic is that he has a Kroy Yisera because Loisucha, the whole thing is extra. We could plug it into each one, and that's a Hazara for each one. Yeah, Gufa. Right, we just said on the base, on the bottom, that Rava quarter to say that you are Zar that eats outside the Tchum, outside the Chayma, before Zrika he gets 5 malchus, and this is by the Miluim, the part he's saying we should get a 6 lav. It says by the Miluim. Now Rashi explains that the fact that usually by the Miluim, everything was not l'shaita. It wasn't l'asad. It was not meant. It was only l'shaita. It wasn't l'asad. In other words, there were a lot of weird things that happened there that were not meant to be replicated and were not learned for future days. Moshe Rabbeinu wore the begadim, usually only Kohen Gadol. When he went to the Kodesh Kodashim, I think he went to Kodesh Kodashim. Not even. There's a lot of variances that happened during that time. So not everything that says in that parsha do we copy paste for generations. So how do we know that this is meant to copy paste? Rashi explains because it says ki kodesh, it gives us a reason. That reason still applies. The karbanis didn't get less kodesh as the years went on. So the application of ki kodesh still applies. So the isser of kizar la'eichel still applies. It's why we're allowed to learn from this for Ludaitis. So to the Gemara says, again, it's a valid question, right? We should be able to learn from this pasuk in Miluim that a zar can eat. We should stack lavim, and he shouldn't be able, and he should get it clapped for eating when it says an additional pasuk. In a place where the kahanim could eat, that's when the isser of that's when a zar gets this lav specifically when for eating. Because we're talking about an isla where nobody eats. The only thing the kahanim get is some scraps. They get the skins, but they don't. There's no achila going on. It's one achila. We said. Over here, he also does not get. Just one second. He also does not get he does not get Makkos. Now, this is not a treifa, so what's the limit over here? The Gemara's darshan is because it says basada. Why is it hard to tell me where the treifa is? There's no difference in halacha if an animal dies in my backyard, in the field, in the forest, or in my bedroom. Wherever the animal dies, if it's not geshachten, it's aser. So what's the lashon of basada? We learn now this idea of sada is alluding to another type of isser, which has nothing to do with isser treifa. Any animal that's in the field, not physically, but like more of a spiritually, more of like more it's out of its allotted place, then it's another isser. Right? You have to think. So anything that's chutz l'chayma, it would be a stack on chutz l'chayma or chutz l'klam. So really, it should be another two. The kasha aviyah l'chayra. I don't know if Rashi says that.
Why two?
Because he's outside the chayma and outside the klayim.
But we already said outside the chayma. Outside the chayma, we already said.
Right, but this is a stack of chutz. What's this? What's this isser?
A sixth.
Of what? Eating it outside of its mechitza. What's its mechitza? The chayma and the klayim. So if he's eating out of both, he should. The question over here is we don't pass like this, but the question over here is that he should get another two malchus l'chayra, because it's out of two mechitzas. Rashi doesn't say that. The klum, the Irish Haitias Yadim Shitas Imai. I don't know. Rashi says chutz l'klam, doesn't say chutz l'chayma, and it says uber Haitias Yadim Shitas Imai that it's not considered in a paterachem. It's not considered in what's the animals that don't need shchita? Hashem yazar. Rafi knew what's it called when what's oh my god, ben pekua, thank you. But a ben pekua, when that aver that sticks out from its mother before the shchita, it's usher to eat without shchita. Mm-hmm. We learn that from this pasuk, but Rashi only says klam. Rashi doesn't say klaimus Yerushalayim, which is interesting. I'm just pointing it out. L'chayr should be a double. L'chayr should be another isser. But okay, either way, it's not a gay lamaisa because we don't pass. We'll see in a second. Right? There's no place that this is right to eat. So in a place where it's right to eat inside, if you eat it outside, you have another lab. But over here, again, like we said, the same idea. Looking Nema Nami Kedavilezer, the Amar Avilezer, Lohech Kaidesh, who anything this is talking about the Isser of Naisa. Don't eat it because it's Kaidesh, which comes down to that any time there's a psul in Kaidesh, I have another lab of eating it. And with the Gemara, the same idea. Before the Kam Pesach went over this man, there was a beautiful Kam Pesach the Olam was eating. And now that the clock ran out, it's also to eat the psul. You have additional issa to eat the psul, right? You don't get malchus. You don't get this like this malchus. Nami ke'idach dervelaz. The Tanya Beleza Aimer Kol Shehu B'Kalatia Litin Lesasei Alachilasei. So the B'Kalatia is talking about by a minchas kain. It says you should burn it. You should burn the whole thing. It doesn't mean on the pasuk here, but you should burn the whole thing by minchas kain. Minchas kain does not get eaten by other kahanim. So the whole thing gets burnt, and it says you burn the whole thing. You shouldn't eat it. So he learns out that everything that's burnt is another issa to eat, to eat everything that's supposed to be burnt. And the Gemara enachanami. So again, litin loisa say alachilasai. Anything that's supposed to be burnt, which is an ayla also, even though that pasuk is talking about it's not even talking about meat. It's talking about a mincha. But darshans from a mincha to aylas specifically that you're supposed to burn it completely. Anything that you're supposed to burn completely, there's another issa. He learns another issa achila. And Chanami, I'm thinking about Rava. My krok, Rava's halacha was saying that Rava's member was saying that from this pasuk, Rabbi Shimon has 5 lavim on his eichel eilam nebachatz. He's saying only that pasuk. So we have all 5 lavim from that pasuk. You want to stack other lavim, and it could be also. It could be that if we go backwards, we could fight. We could fight on each one and maybe come out with a couple that work, even the ones that we upshot. But for right now, that's it. Fine. Let us stop for here, and we will pick up tomorrow. Be'ezer Hashem, Isbarach.
Sure.
That was.